So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anthony Mitchell.
Hello everyone. Testing. Yeah, I'd just like to say, I know what you're all thinking. If I fell over, would I blend in with the floor? Probably. I should call ahead. No, I just wanted to start by saying thank you actually to the organisers, the team emailing 2020. Done a fantastic job. I wasn't nervous before I heard all the other speakers, but to be honest, I'm petrified. Great speakers. We've been blessed today, and without further ado, let's get cracking. Right, and good luck translators. I'll try and use clean English, but you're doing a good job too. So pretty much, what is it all about? So I would like to plant a seed today. That was the thing I was meant to say. I'd like to plant a seed today. In this day and age, we have a lot of noise. There's a lot of content going into your email folders, into your inbox, not necessarily in your inbox. It's about getting heard, actually. And there's so much good content, interactive design, following up from what Ellie was saying. All this great creative side of email is fantastic. So I feel like now more than ever, it's a real challenge to get into the inbox, to get your message seen and heard, and get more traffic from the email back to your website. So I think but before I get into any further detail, so what I wanted to say is deliverability short term can be like a balancing act. That's my dog Ted there in the kitchen. He occasionally balances a sponge on his head, and there's Arnie. But it's to say that actually you need to look at long-term deliverability, put that into your projects and put that within your email life cycle. It's not an afterthought. You should be thinking as well, okay, how can we, and I'll expand on it, how can we create a good reputation? How can we get users to engage? Talking about user engagement, so I didn't even introduce myself, sorry. I do that sometimes. So that's me outside of work. But inside work, I've been a deliverability consultant for about 10, 11 years, working for numerous email service providers, now working for Inboxes. And one of my passions is actually a car boot sale, believe it or not. I love nothing better than cleaning out my house, got the junk, one man's junk is another man's treasure, as they say. Someone's texted me there, great timing, and trying to sell it. Because it's like user engagement, it's all about building trust and it's negotiating. You've got things that you want to sell, you can understand about the customer. Sometimes they come up and they're interested in a product. They might even take the product and you've got them there and then. You say, right, £2, which is probably what, I don't know, about €2 these days. I don't know what the conversion rate is. But you know that they want it, so you can entice them in. It's a massive game. I've just realised I've been looking at the screen for too long. Right, but today I wanted to make you a deal. Okay, the deal is, if you don't mention Brexit, I'm not going to mention the GDPR. Now the thing is, I thought someone has to mention Brexit, and that's going to be me, to be honest with you. Right, GDPR though, as an industry, we've learned a lot about permissioning, making sure that we're getting the correct data, it's legal. I'm not going to bang on about it too much. Next slide. Oh yeah, right, okay. So earlier, I will get to deliverability eventually. Earlier, someone said something, what's the new trend? I'm saying that the new trend is pelicans. I'll explain why. Does anyone, by the way, know who these pelicans are? You will really impress me, if you know, and I'll buy you a drink at least. Right? Okay, that's sun, moon, and star. And these pelicans, following a 350-year tradition, Prague Zoo have donated the pelicans to St James's Zoo in London, and you've given us some pelicans. So that's my way of saying thank you for the pelicans. But come October the 31st, we won't kick them out. They'll probably fly away. Okay, that's terrible. Right. All jokes aside, thanks for the gift. All right, let's get started. That's the introduction, I guess. So, Why does deliverability matter? Okay, so why does deliverability matter? And the slides are here. So, as I say, it's all about getting into the inbox. We've seen the content side of things, there's a technical side of things as well, and it's a lot to do with reputation. There's a lot in it. First, I wanted to introduce you, because some people might not even know what deliverability is. I keep banging on about it. Let's go to the next slide. So let me tell you a little story. This little story starts in the 70s, and it's basically the original story of spam and how it came about. This guy called Gary Firk, back in the day on the ARPANET, predating the internet, he sent a marketing campaign, 400 recipients of a global network of 2,000 something. He basically sent them a little private message saying, buy some computer parts. So that, effectively, that was the original, some people refer to him as the king of spam. I would say he could be also considered the king of email marketing. I think he's a pioneer. I'll leave it up to you, what you think about that. There's two sides to every story. What I will say, thanks Firk, I've had a job for the last 10 years. So let's move on with that. If the translator got that one, then fantastic. That's a play on words. Right, so just to say, since the 70s, we've come, I didn't say what deliverability was. So it's the art and science of finding the inbox. Avoiding the spam folder, you could say, as well. And occasionally delivering to the promotion tab. But basically we've come a long way. There's been so many developments since then, it's been unreal. There's been frameworks all been put into place behind the scenes, the RFCs, the feedback loops with the ISPs, laws and policies, plus a lot more, as well as, okay, this is just on the right-hand side, the interactive design, this is by Litmus, just to say like AMP, interactive design, emojis and subject lines, that impresses me. But little things, we've come a long way. But there's also another side of the story that I think we need to think about, and this also plays a part in how we manage our strategies. It's the dark side. I probably could have got a better picture than that, to be honest, but it's just hackers or something. Okay, so we've got to look at, you have these phishing emails, brands or hackers pretending to be someone else, maybe even using your brand. The other day I got an email through from the tax office. It was the end of the month, I was waiting for my paycheck, and I believed it, and I was so close to going through it, and I've got £500, I've got £500. I even checked the header and I thought, hang on, that looks legitimate, and then it was missing a full stop, and I thought, you nearly got scammed. But that happens all the time for people that aren't working in email. There's so much spam, there's so much traffic, ransomware, stealing your details, all this business. This is just to say that the ISPs and filters are dealing with a huge amount of traffic. So we are permission-based email marketing, but there's the other side. So we should take that into consideration when we're talking about deliverability. On a bit of a lighter note, we are winning the battle a bit in the last 5 years. I think Andrew had a slide on this as well. So in the last 5, we are kind of combating spam, global spam rates going down, which is a good thing, because I think, as I say, us as a community on a larger scale, we're helping, and I'll expand why, to do that together. The graph on the right is just to say that email's not dying. It's not dying, it's growing, if anything, and it will be more and more and more. So forget all that, email's dead. I'm still waiting for, I think Facebook have their email, I'm still waiting for that time, anyway. Right, next slide. So, permission-based. So I won't stress it too much. It's about getting the legal side of it, making sure that you get the correct permissioning, set expectations, simple things like if, for example, someone says, oh, I'm just signing up for a newsletter, don't bombard them with emails every day unless you're on a daily deal, which is fine, because you've said to them, you're going to receive an email for a daily deal a day. Now that's fine, because what that could lead to is perhaps a higher unsubscribe rate. Okay, we don't mind that. Complaints, a lot of complaints. Why are you spamming me, spamming? This is a negative engagement which has a negative impact on your reputation, which in time you'll find the spam folder. And it'll be a lower return on investment. So also, there's little trickery ways of doing that. I'm not so creative. It's a good job Martin's on after me, because you're looking at creative social newsletter content. I think I might need your help for the future. But that's just to say, preference center, these are good ideas. You can collect information from them. You know when they want to, recipients, people on your list want to be communicated with, and when and why, etc. Great things. Also, another thing to think about is how are you opting them in? Are you doing a basic web form? Are you buying a CD from Cart Boot Sale? No, don't do that. Are you revalidating it? Because someone could sign up to your web form. That example is just from our website. Sign up for our newsletter if you want. But it's just to say, if for example you just put in a random email address and hit enter, if that's entered into the database and you've had no validation checks at all, when you go out and send your welcome email, that's going to bounce, or there'll be other problems. And if you do that in volume, again, it's going to have a negative impact on your reputation and deliverability. So, next one. So, I'm ranting, aren't I? Sorry, just better slow down a little bit. Trust and reputation, that's a lot of the theme of the day, to be honest with you. Going back onto phishing, you say who you are, and you build that reputation with your client, with the recipients, and also you behave in the right way. A lot of the reputation is based solely upon that. I'll go on to that. Okay, user engagement. So let's talk about positive things. Positive things like user engagement that have a positive impact on your reputation. I'm banging on about reputation a bit too much, but this is just to say press all the right buttons. Anything in an email, we spoke about metrics about what matters in email marketing emails. So we're looking at opens, okay, clicks. We're also looking within the email itself what you can do. So even if you forward an email, that's going to have a positive action. If you forward an email, I'm going to tell a friend about it or whatever, that's going to have that's a positive thing you're doing. That has a positive impact on your reputation as well. What other things can you do? I'll talk about the other things, but yeah, images, clicking images. This is why we love interactive design, because I think this is great. It's going to make it, people are going to interact with the email straight away, clicking, etc., etc. They like that, and the filters like that also. Okay, so let's talk about the negative points of engagement. Would be, of course, unsubscribing and complaining. There are ways around that. Now, in a present company, appreciate that. I would say the majority of people perhaps send into local ISPs, etc. So what I might be saying might be for the bigger picture when you start sending emails abroad, outside the European Union, etc. But one thing there that we could do is, because a lot of recipients members have lost trust in their brand, or even reading an email and scrolling to the bottom and pressing unsubscribe, you can actually include a list unsubscribe header at the top. And I know that some interfaces like Gmail, they have that integrated, so it's basically a feedback loop. I would recommend that. You could argue, oh, why should I? You could also do a one-click unsubscribe, and if you click it, it will take you through to your website. There's also things there to think about in terms of feedback loops with ISPs. Now, you may have your own infrastructure, or you might be associated with an email service provider. It's just good to take in consideration. Okay, I'm losing you, I can feel it. Right, threats to data, bless you. Threats to data. If you don't get the sign-up part right, you could run into some problems. You might have problems to start with. But it's just to say you have to think about your list hygiene, as Andrew put it. You have to think of your list hygiene. Now, this is a data validation company. I'm not doing that for endorsing that. That's a marketing campaign which I liked, which highlights and illustrates a lot of potential issues that you can run into. Like we spoke about spam traps. Perhaps there's also other things like disposable domains. They're okay, they're innocent enough, but long term, should you be sending to some of these accounts, role accounts, info at, sales at, some of them, are questionable. I'm not saying to remove them, just to be aware of it. Other things here, I can't even read that. I hope you might not be able to read it either. So there's all sorts of things. So if at sign up this happens, but also with the spam traps, it's not a case of after 90 days remove them from your send. I think it's important on this note to say, as I say, strategy, have a reactivation campaign, have a re-engagement campaign. Give that subscriber an opportunity, because it might not be a spam trap. It might be a sleeping member. Give them an opportunity to re-engage your campaign. If you've given them a lot of time, or enough time, at the end, you might want to remove them. like after 4 campaigns, for example. Just something to think about. Good, and as I mentioned before about where you're sending to. So from a deliverability perspective, you need to know basically, okay, each of the ISPs you send it to, mainly the major ISPs, Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo, Verizon Group, of course you've got your local ones. I say local like it's a small thing, it's a massive thing out here, so it's huge. Each of these ISPs have a different policy of how the best way of communicating with them. You know, your send speed, the complaint rates that they process, little things like this. It's good to be aware of that each ISP is effectively different. Although we try to give best practice as a whole, you need to think, where's your target audience? Where are they actually based? When I say based, not physically, although physically as well, but as well as which ISP are they using. Okay, so IP and domain warning, yeah. So I'm building up to a pineapple. Basically, what it is with this. It's just to say, I planted a seed earlier, I want to watch it grow. Say what you see. So, IP domain warning, that's kind of a main thing when you think of deliverability, changing services, email service provider, bits and pieces. If maybe you've got another brand, maybe you're sending to a new country and you've got to register a new domain with a new top level domain, .eu or something like that. Oh, I shouldn't mention the EU anymore. I want to. I voted to remain, by the way. Just putting that out there. Okay, back to the slide. So you need to, softly, you have to warm up your domain and IP. Because as I said earlier, these spammers, what they do is they might register a new domain and then just blast the volume out as soon as they can until they get blocked. Sorry, just fixing that. That's better. I'm scratching my ear the whole time. Okay. Yeah, until they get blocked, which isn't. So, thank you. So, thank you. And it makes perfect sense that an ISP will be looking at that and they'll say, okay, who are you sending to? This is a new domain. Could we send to your actives first? Oh, right, okay, the recipients, they're engaging. People actually want it, they're not unsubscribing. So we do have to slowly ramp up. That doesn't work with all ISPs either. To refer back to the other slide, each ISP is different, so you have to have a different approach. But I think that's something important to consider, particularly domain reputation, because you see it more now with this world of user engagement and feedback. It's more like specific to domains. Okay, I was going to make, right, so don't forget to water your plants. That slide works twofold, really. I think if you have forgotten to water your plants, you probably should do this weekend. Of course, what will happen in the IP warm-up domain process, if you do get it wrong, then you will technically burn your bridges, or you'll stop ramping up, and you'll stop growing your volume, let's say, because the ISPs will have enough. Now, once the ISP puts you into back-off mode, or they're blocking you, or they're putting you to the spam folder, it takes a while to basically, to rebuild that relationship. So let's just say, bear it in mind. We don't want to mess around there with the ISPs. All right, okay. So things to think about. We'll do a little bit of interaction now. I can see you're all awake. Right, okay, domain reputation. Yeah, it's right, it's me. I don't know why. Cheers, that's good. Sorry, that's what happens, isn't it? Right, domain reputation. So this is a print screen taken from Gmail Postmaster. This is typical not only of Gmail, but actually more and more we'll see like with engagement and reputation. This is what could happen. You'll see it's very up and down. So for example, if you're sending to an active members, when I say active, those that have opened and clicked an email in the last 3 months or something, or maybe you're sending an offer out to highly engaged members that really want the product. That's good. That will have a positive impact on your reputation. If then after that campaign, on the same domain, the next day or so, you then send to those that have not opened an email in the last 9 months. The ISPs think about that, and you'll get a high complaint rate and unsubscribe rate, and that could have a negative impact on your reputation. So this is something that I think with deliverability, as I say earlier, it's not like a short-term project. Think about it long-term, your relationships with the ISP, and think about it in terms of domain reputation. So, in regards to what's kind of new and out there, so if I can get a show of hands, who knows what DMARC is? I'm pretty impressed actually, it's about 50%. Okay, who has DMARC? Actually, I'd better explain it for those that don't know, sorry. I've gone off into one. So DMARC is building upon SPF and DKIM, and it basically gives the owner of the domain control to tell the recipient what to do in case of if they receive an email where SPF or DKIM fails, basically to avoid phishing. So other companies can't pretend to be you, so you get ultimate control, and I think that's what it's about as well, control of your own reputation. So who's got DMARC installed? Okay, that's still pretty good, 20, 30, yeah? And who's got a policy more than none? Incredible, I'm impressed. I'm going home now. I haven't got a job to do. I'm joking. Right, that is very good. And I think this builds on the next bit that we speak about, which is beaming. So you may have heard of beaming, which I think is it's almost like where marketing meets deliverability. And it's a way of saying, okay, authentication, back end, who are we? As well as marketing, you get that nice little image. So beaming effectively, if you send an email or you receive an email, if it's legitimate and they're registered with this beaming movement, they will see the logo. So you know it's legitimate. Instead of like a profile picture of some random email address or whatnot, you know it's legitimate. So I think this is a good thing, a positive thing. And I'm not saying for you to go out there and install beaming or whatnot, because at the minute it's only on Yahoo. I think Gmail have also put their hand up to say they would be happy for that to be integrated. But it's definitely something to take into consideration. Who's got beaming installed? No, okay, I'll ask next year if I get invited back. Cool. So yeah, just to summarise, I appreciate this, I haven't got any interactive design or whatnot, so just to summarise deliverability in terms of how we see it, as well as what kind of dictates your good reputation. So first and foremost, I think it starts with the data that you're getting on board. Refer back to the GDPR and making sure it's legal, first and foremost. Set expectations for your subscribers clearly. We spoke with Elliot and others about the user engagement and good content, strategies and whatnot. Embrace changes because we're developing quickly. There's all sorts of things going on in the community, good and bad, let's say. Things change, technology improves. And ensure your setup is technically sound. So we touched upon this a little bit earlier, and also some proactive deliverability monitoring, which I'll just go into now. So yeah, we mentioned reputation. So there's actually many sources of reputation and things that you should take into consideration and look at. You've probably heard of sender score, which is a number out of 100, closer to 100 the better, which is a good thing. And that was old school, kind of the industry kind of standard or benchmark. There's actually a lot of other sources out there now. You're looking at Spam Assassin, you're looking at Reputation Authority, looking at even ISPs like Outlook. They've created their own Postmaster tool, which is a little bit outdated now, but you get a clear picture of what your reputation's like. So again, this is another metric. If you're sending to Outlook, that might be something you can take in consideration. So for the technical side of things, as a minimum, you have to make sure that SPF and DKIM is installed. And we speak of domain alignment, mentioned it earlier. You have to make sure that, okay, if images are hosted in your email, if it matches up with your sender from domain, one of them is not. Third time lucky. So, yeah. Can you hear me now? Alright. Is that better? Alright, yeah, good. Okay. Domain alignment as well is an important thing. And that's just to say, okay, images in where you host your images, where your sender from is, if you can, it's not a showstopper if they don't all match up, but if you can, align it as much as possible. Things to avoid, perhaps the link shorteners, they can be flagged up in filters, and that might be the difference between getting to the inbox or the spam folder. Again, other little things to consider. I'll just couple more slides. So content. So we looked at one side, the great content. We also look at other things that can trigger filters, such as spam content, spam phrases. It's something like a check that you could do if you have a new email campaign. Before you send it out, just check to make sure that they don't have any trigger words that will get you into the spam folder. Of course, list, unsubscribe, and whatnot. And then I think for next couple of slides. Right, so proactive deliverability monitoring. Okay, why should you care about it? So, first and foremost, you might have heard of a seed list test. So you can send your campaigns once they're built. Back in the day, we used to have to log in individually to each email provider, check directly where the emails were sitting. You could do this all in one go and send it to a seed list, which could reflect your actual client database, to then know before you send your campaign what's the probability that you're going to make the inbox and how you can get to the inbox. Because I just want to stress this, once you're in the inbox, then it's your marketing that takes over and you'll get a higher return on investment. But if you're not delivering to the inbox, your marketing can't even be judged yet because it's not been seen. That's a print screen from our platform Inboxes, as well as on the right there's an API plugin. A lot of ways you can manage this configuration. I think that's with Meliana and Heineck installed that, so that's fantastic. It just goes to show you have this data, it just depends how you want to use it and what's relevant for you. So this isn't a be-all and end-all. I'm just trying to kind of plant a seed to say, think about deliverability. Don't forget about us. Right, IP monitoring as well. We've gone to domain reputation. So IP monitoring, looking at all the metrics. We mentioned domain, yeah, so if you're on any blacklists, you should avoid them, and because that could also have an impact on if you're delivering to an ISP or not. Particularly Spamhaus. Now, you may know about Spamhaus, but that's the industry-leading blacklist. And if you're on there, then your emails probably 9 times out of 10 won't even make it to. They won't even make it. They'll be missing. So it's not even delivered. It's even a step before where we care about. So just something to be aware of. If you send out an email marketing campaign and you've worked so long on great content and you're not so happy about the results, just maybe you've got a deliverability issue. Keep off the blacklists. I think I mentioned that. Won't stress that again. And then I was for those that have visited today, I was going to wish you a blooming good time and pose you the question, how do you monitor your deliverability? That's it, thank you.
Let's move briefly to a few questions by slightly once more. There are 3 questions. So is it even possible to have 100% deliverability?
Good question. So in terms of an inbox placement test, yes. In reality, no, it's not possible. If you look at, I always use Gmail as an example, but it's very much user engagement. So it could be very specific to that user's inbox. If they've said they don't want to receive your email, already, if they haven't marked you as a safe sender, you could be going to their spam folder. It's not possible to have 100% all the time, but we can get there as close as we possibly can and using best practices. I hope that answers the question.
What are feedback loops and how do they work?
So feedback loops effectively are basic agreements with the internet service provider, for example, such as Orange have a list of feedback loops to manage the complaints, and basically the JMRP works differently. Manage complaints and feed that back to you, so you can basically remove your complaints from your database. So it's communication between the ISP and the recipient who's marked it as complaint, and you can get some visibility over that.
How does software hard bounces affect my reputation of my IP?
Good question, yeah. So soft bounces, I would just cut long story short, I'd say negatively. Not always. hard bounces especially, if you send to an old list and they've got 10% amount is hard bounces, it just goes. Someone said it just goes to show that what? It just goes to show that basically you're not looking after your data processes, so it's definitely going to have a negative impact on your deliverability. So it's not. It really isn't worth. We spoke about numbers earlier. It isn't worth uploading that old list just for the head of it, even if you're getting pressure from the marketing manager. Do take a second thought about that. Maybe highlight some of the issues that you could face by doing that, because you don't want blood on your hands. Soft bounce is a different story. They're worth a retry. Depends on the reason. Again, analyse the reason. Some of them, if it's a temporary timeout, do it again, because the ISP, sometimes that's their fault. Yeah, they make mistakes.
Actually, we can follow the topic. It might be boring. So where did you get your jacket from? And let's end with this one.
ASOS.
Okay. This program was sponsored by... And that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.